Hello, young artist. Mrs. DuPont here. I'm super excited to show you how to make a screen print with an embroidery hoop. To begin, you'll need paper and pencil to make a sketch, the embroidery hoop, and the silk screen, which is a little bit larger, so there's some room to spare. You need your Mod Podge, a paintbrush for painting the Mod Podge, a little cup for pouring the Mod Podge, and a little cup of water to immediately rinse your brush so you don't ruin the brush. So first, we start with a sketch. Making a sketch is really helpful because you can change your mind or make mistakes and erase things without worrying and all the pressure of doing it straight on the screen. Now you're making essentially a stencil, so anything that's a line needs to be transformed into a shape. I have a few lines here on the flowers, so I'm thinking that's easy enough to make it a shape, and all of the lines kind of connected in order to make a stencil-like appearance out of my drawing. Now to get the screen on the embroidery hoop, you just take the little screw at the top of the embroidery hoop and loosen it up. I would make that embroidery hoop quite loose. So once it's loose, you can pull the two hoops apart, and I would make it more loose than you think to make room for the screen. Now you will place the screen over the smaller hoop and take the larger hoop and wrap it around on top of the silk screen. Then you take that screw once you've got it where you want it and you tighten it back up again, and that holds the screen in place. Try to keep the screen stretched tightly, and if you need to tug on the screen a little bit to make sure it's tight, then do so. Now I'm going to turn it over because I'm ready for the fun part. Get my sketch from earlier, put it underneath, and trace it. I'm a little less nervous because I already drew it than I would be if I went straight on there. And all I got to do is trace it. It should be pretty simple, but you know, man, look, I messed it up, but check it out. I got an eraser. No big deal. If you make a mistake, you can erase right off of the screen, which is a really handy thing to know. Takes the pressure off. And I'm happy with it. Ready to get the Mod Podge out. Right, got my big old Mod Podge, and I got my little cup, and I'm just gonna pour just a teensy amount at the bottom there of the cup without spilling. Success! Okay, so now I'm applying Mod Podge to the screen where I do not want there to be any color or ink. So when I push the ink through the screen, it will cover everywhere where there is no Mod Podge. So I don't want the background to print. I'm going to cover it with Mod Podge. The reason I use Mod Podge instead of glue is because Mod Podge is not going to wash out. So if I want to wash this screen when I'm all done, wash the ink off of it in the sink, and then print with a different color, I can. If I did that with Elmer's glue, it might wash it out. So that's why I'm using Mod Podge. Now as I go around here, I feel like this brush is just a little bit too big to get in some of those itty-bitty places. Like, that's a mistake I made. Like, I just don't want to try those little places. So I'm going to go around the whole thing kind of basic with my big brush, and then later I'm going to go get a little guy and do the details. Now before I switch brushes, this Mod Podge is going to ruin that brush if it dries inside it. So I've got my water. It's better to go to the sink and really give it a good clean, but sometimes the sink gets crowded. So just wiping that brush on the bottom of the water jar and then fixing its hair with a paper towel so that it dries. I'm going to feel that, and it feels like it might still have Mod Podge in it. So let's just do it one more time to be safe. Fix its hair and make sure the brush stays with nice looking hair so it can be used again another day. Now this little tiny brush is helping me get those details a lot better. Okay, I think I got it all done. I went over it twice just to be sure there weren't any holes. Now that I'm done, cleaning my brush really, really good. Don't want any dead paintbrushes tomorrow. And drawing it so that its hair stays nice. And now, all I gotta do is wait for that Mod Podge to dry before I can move on to the printing stage. The first thing you need when you're ready to print is an apron, because if that fabric ink gets on your clothes, it will be on there forever. So don't forget your apron. You know, I love cardboard. You're going to need a big one and a little one. You're going to need your project. You'll need the scratch paper to test it on, your fabric for the real deal, and your fabric ink with a little spoon to get it out of the bottle. Before you're ready, I would give it a good look, hold it up to the light and see if you see any holes. And if there's no holes, then you're good to go. If there are, you might want to add a little more Mod Podge. Okay, now I like the bigger piece of cardboard that fits just inside the screen embroidery hoop. That allows, when I push down the embroidery hoop, it gives it just a little more tension that causes the ink to go through the screen just a little bit better. That's why I like having a little cardboard that fits right inside the hoop. Okay, so I've got my cardboard, I've got my scratch paper, I've got my hoop. Then if I can open this jar of ink, then I'm going to take a little dab with the spoon and put it right on top of the hoop. Then I've got my little piece of cardboard, and I'm going to take this cardboard and I'm going to run it across the image, and I'm going to smear the ink across the image. And here it goes. Right, are you ready for the moment of truth? Here it goes. I'm going to peel the paper away from this screen, and ta-da! It's such a surprise. It's always a surprise. Now, if I look at that, I feel like the ink came out kind of thick and squished some of those lines. So I'm going to try that again, only this time I'm going to put less ink and see what happens. Okay, this is less ink. Let's peel it up and see what it looks like on our scratch paper. I like it. The details showed up a little better. I'm feeling a lot more confident, ready to try it on fabric. Okay, I'm going to print 4 of these on this fabric, one in each quadrant of the fabric. So here we go. I got my cardboard down, got my fabric over it. Now to repeat the same process that I did with the paper, and as I'm going along, I'm going to decide sometimes that I've got too much ink or too little. It's just kind of it's not a machine-made thing, it's a handmade thing, and that's one of the things that makes it beautiful, is that each one is different and that no 2 prints are alike. Here's the last print as I peek, and I think that's the best one of all. I'm really pleased with it. It looks wonderful. I'm thinking about all the possibilities that I could do with it. Here, let me show you what it looks like up close. Okay, young artists, go give it a try. I hope you had just as much fun as I did.